Welcome to a brand new video. So in this video, we're going to be talking about ad creatives and how you can essentially use creatives to help boost the performance of your Facebook ads. By paying attention to this video, I'm going to show you the difference between a bad creative and a good creative. And the creatives are not going to allow you to achieve the results, the objective of your campaign. So if you're an e-commerce client, well, if you're an e-commerce business, then for your product, and if you're a lead generation business, then the goal is to generate leads. So I'm just going to show you different examples of different creatives that I have used and I've seen other well and that have also not worked well. So before we begin, let's start with the bad creatives. What actually makes a bad creative? You see, if you've been watching my previous videos, I go on about that in order to have a successful Facebook advertising campaign, number one, you need to know who it is you are targeting. Number two, you need to know what it is that you are selling to these people. What is it that they want? Number three is should I say, why would they buy it? What is the motivation behind why they would actually exchange their hard-earned money for what it is that you have to sell? And then, of course, the next question would be, why would they buy it from you? Because whatever you have to sell, there is a good possibility another competitor is selling exactly what you have to sell. So what makes yours different from everybody else? Does that make sense? So what the creative does is the creative allows you to better illustrate essentially the offer, if that's the angle you want to go, or the benefit, or essentially if you want to use fear, if you want to use scarcity slash urgency, if that makes sense. So let's get straight into the video. So the first one is going to be creatives that I've designed myself for essentially iPhone cases that I used to sell back in the day. This was quite a few years ago. So I built a dropshipping store called Wildfire, and these were the creatives. Now, unfortunately, these creatives didn't perform really well. Now, the reason behind it is, yes, we're selling an iPhone case, and yes, the fact that this one is specifically for cat lovers, and this one is specifically for those who like. But for me, the reason why it didn't do well is number one, low quality. You can see that the image isn't really the best quality, number one. And number two, it doesn't really illustrate the of this iPhone case, if that makes sense. Yes, you can see, for example, this one has a cat, which is kind of cool, kind of neat, but in the creative, it doesn't really illustrate, like, for example, whether it's, water resistant or waterproof, or whether it has what I'm trying to communicate is it doesn't essentially have some sort of a benefit that people get. And the only benefit here is a save 50% off and a save 10% off. And unfortunately, sometimes a 50% off and a 10% off is just not enough to get the sale. Does that make sense? Now, I will show you good examples later on. So next up, you've seen this in my previous video, and this is for, let's just say, for example, you are a print-on-demand store and you want to sell clothing and accessories, and one of the accessories you sell is bags. So if you're selling bags, the reason why this doesn't work is because number one, it looks a bit too tacky, number two, the quality is a bit low, and the main reason, and I've spoken about this in my previous videos, is you're selling too many products. So whenever you want to use some sort of a creative, I suggest you focus on one single product in that creative, one center of focus. Does that make sense? So if I was to do this, I would rather focus on one. This is if you have like a bundle or if you have an offer. So for example, if you buy this bag, you get this, you get this bag for free. multiple items unless you have a bundle. So essentially, you get one, two, three, four. So you get 4 bags for the price of two, or 4 bags for the price of one. Does that make sense? But if you're not having some sort of offer or promotion, if you product, I would recommend you focus on one product at a time. Does that make sense? So the next one, these ads just look a bit too scammy. That's the reason why they just, for me anyway, they didn't perform very, very well. And I haven't run these ads. I just know they didn't perform because if you go to the Facebook ad library, ad will appear and then after like a couple of days it disappears. And I noticed that this would be one of those ads that the person running it will run it for a few days and realize that it's not generating an ROI. As a result, they're going to turn off the ad. So we can clearly see here that it just looks way too spammy. Well, yeah, there's just too much going on in the image. Obviously, we know that this is for Christmas. We know that it's the end of year, up to 60 the way to essentially present this bag that you're ultimately trying to sell, because I'm not too sure what all of this here in the background. Obviously, again, I know it's the Christmas theme, but still, there's just way too much going on. When somebody looks at your creative, they've got to see it, and essentially they've got to understand exactly what it is you're trying to communicate. Does that make sense? And creatives that work well are creatives that essentially stand out. That, because if you're on, when you're advertising on Facebook, people are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So whatever creative you decide, or pattern interrupt, those are the main words that we use in marketing, essentially meaning to get somebody to stop. So you need a scroll stopper. That's another word. Scroll stopper, whatever you want to call it. Something that's going to stop that person from endlessly scrolling and then, grab their attention. Does that make sense? This one is really good. Well, better than this one. Multifunctional Bluetooth nightlight, which is good, but you can tell that this image is taken straight from an AliExpress product page. There's not really any effort gone towards making it look, good. So yeah, does that make sense? Let me move on to the next one. Like I said before, an effective creative, in this case, we're focusing on images. Something like this is not really going to get people to stop because it's bland, it's boring. In this, I would actually, rather than putting it in a plain white background, I would put a better background. Does that make sense? So you can essentially, what I'm trying to say is, do not, if you're selling a product, don't have, it's not going to work. It's just not going to be as effective if you have a better background image. Now, these types of images that look like leaflets, are not effective. In maybe 10, 15 years ago, but not in today's age of social media. So make that, doing, for example, a promotion, flights to from Canada to, is I would have a image of India, or the different places that the people who are buying the flights, so the different places in India that these people are going to visit. Or, you can have the copy in the image, for example. Does that make sense? Because this isn't, it looks like a leaflet. So you want to stay away from any images that you create, especially if you use Photoshop or Canva. Stay away from images that look like this, that look like a promotional a promotional material. Because just think about yourself, whenever you get leaflets from, for example, takeaways, or a leaflet from local businesses, how many times do you read them compared to how many times you put them in the bin? Like 9 times out of 10, you put them in the bin. This would be something that if you received it through the letterbox, you're going to put that straight in the bin. Does that make sense? Unless it's something that you specifically asked for, then fair enough. So similar to this one, because it's just, again, the purpose of the creative is to grab someone's attention, build interest, build intrigue, so much so that they want to read the copy. And the copy will let them know exactly what the product is, what it does for them, the benefits, and of course, a call to action, usually wrapped around an offer for them to click the shop now, buy now, or does that make sense? And these types of creatives is not going to hook anyone. It's not going to stop somebody from scrolling, because they're going to look at this image, they're going to see the big long text, and they're just going to skip through it. Now, if you're interested in learning how to write effective ad copy, I've done a video on that, so I'm not going to go into it. You can see that again, white. My suggestion here would be just to focus on one headphones. Maybe the person wearing the headphones have a good background and have some sort of benefit. What is the major benefit of these headphones? Why someone should spend the hard-earned money on these headphones? And the exact same thing over here. So this one is a little bit too spammy. It just, you know, with Facebook, something like this nowadays is not going to be approved by the Facebook AI, and even if it is, it's not going to be too much text. You do not need all of this. Gifting season are better words that you can use in order to get people to buy. And in terms of the copy, I've done videos on copy. I'm not going to go into the copy in this video at all. So the next one would be hoodies. I've worked with clients who sell hoodies, t-shirts, etc. They've been successful. Now this is, there's a bit of a background, but I will show you a better example so that you know the difference between why this one is a bad creative and the other one is on this one for a moment. Selling, it's just too bland. There's nothing to hook the person, to get them intrigued, to get them excited. Nothing that's going to make them want to read the copy like this. What people have done and what I have done that will get your creative juices flowing. So again, you want to stay away from things like this, things like look like actual sales. Anything that looks like sales promotions, marketing promotions, you want to stay away from. You see, I said this in the previous video, and I'm going to say this again, that the average attention span of a human being is, did a study in 2015, and they came to the conclusion that a human being's attention span is about 3 to 5 seconds. So with the 3 to 5 seconds, you've got to make sure that you communicate who your product or your service is for, what essentially are they getting, why they should invest in it, and essentially right now. Does that make this? You have New Year 1-1, New Year online sale, etc. Again, it's just, it doesn't really communicate exactly what people are like actually getting. Obviously, there's cats, there's dogs. It's to do with online sale, but it doesn't really tell you anything more. And if you don't perfectly illustrate what the person gets, they're just going to leave. Does that make sense? Now, this is more for real estate. I have worked with clients who are selling homes. And similar to what I was saying before, the reason why this is not effective is because it looks like a marketing promotion. So essentially, you want your advertisement not to look like an advert. Very, very soon. So the next one, if you look at this image, just looking at the image, forget the copy. you don't have a clue what's going on. Like I said, you have 3 to 5 seconds to get someone's attention. So within the 3 seconds that somebody looks at the image, they've got to understand exactly what it is, who it's for, what it can do for them, and essentially why they should act now. Looking at this image straight away, forget the copy, forget all of this, I don't know anything. So already you're in a losing battle. So if you were to read the copy, for example, Canadians don't make a profit with US real estate because they are double taxed once in each country. Okay, so he's illustrating a myth, which is good. Now, like I said, the real issue here is the fact that just look, I don't understand what on earth is going on. Does that make sense? Now, I know it's about busting myths with that, but again, there's no about tax in Canada, etc. But it doesn't again illustrate what it is that this person is trying to sell you, what it is that he has. The problem here is it doesn't really tell you essentially. Obviously, it's a USB, we know that, but what makes this USB different from any other 1 terabyte of data storage, whatever, or what exactly? Does it glow in the dark, or does it have a flashlight? I'm not too sure here. Does that make sense? Again, very similar to before, you see this theme over and over again, and I'm sure you're starting to understand that stay away from things like this and things that look like a. Yes, I understand there's a sale, but there's a better way to do this, which I will show you shortly. And this was the copy behind these two promotions, but I'm not going to go over the copy in this video. So this one, he's selling headphones. The problem is, number one, of course, we phones, but there's no clear benefit. There's no reason why you would buy these headphones over Beats or over Skull Candy or so many other headphone brands. And of course, we read the copy over here, but we're not going over the copy over here. So this is a lot better because you have a nice good background. You can see that it's a hoodie and you can see that it's a winter sale up to 60% off. So this is the better examples. Now I will show you why I put this in this category. The reason why this is terrible is because, well, you know what? I'm gonna let you decide, and I'm gonna let you decide, and leave a comment down below on why this is a bad creative. Because you've so now that you've seen what a bad creative is, it's something that doesn't grab someone's attention. It's something that doesn't clearly illustrate what it is that you have to offer, what it is that you have to sell. Is it a product? Is it a service? If it's a product, what is the product? What does the product do for the actual person? What is the offer? What is the result? What is the problem that the product solves? And then it's how you present it, and plain white background like this. Does that make sense? So now, let me show you the difference. So if you're, for example, selling a watch, you see the difference between the two. So this is what I was talking about, have a better background, makes the product looks more premium, it makes the product looks more, this will grab someone's attention. It's an effective use of color, in this case yellow, symbolizes optimism. So this will to the consumer potentially, who knows, but obviously that's psychology. But you see the difference. It makes me want to click, it makes me want to. And here are more examples. So you can see that how they use color, how they use the background, it will grab my attention because it's colorful. I know exactly what the person is trying to sell, which is this watch. I'm guessing it's Scissortons, if I'm correct. I'm not too sure, and I don't know all my watch brands, so can see here, just from looking at the image alone, I want to learn more, which is why I will read the copy. Not the Facebook ad. Let me go to images. Perfect. So when you're creating a Facebook ad, this is how the sequence works. So what happens is somebody is going to see your creative first. Then they're going to read the headline. Then they're going to read the ad copy. And then they're going to... Is the chronological order that your average consumer is going to view your advertisement, decide whether they want to take action or not. First is the creative, then it would be the headline, and then it would be the ad copy. And when I say ad copy, I don't mean big long text. I mean a lot of your consumer from the very top, the first, going to decide whether they click on that, click on the see more button. The point I'm trying to make is the creative has to be attention grabbing enough and communicate exactly what the person gets within 3 to 5 seconds, so that they can go and read the headline, then read the ad copy, and then click on the call to action. Does that make sense? So this is what I was talking about before, the difference between the two. This creative is a much more effective way of selling the hoodie, because this is just a plain create any emotion. You see, you probably heard of this sentence many times before, and I'm going to say this just to remind you, or if this is the first time you're hearing this, is people buy emotions, but they justify their decisions based on logic and reason. So somebody's going to buy your product based on an emotion. However, they're going to justify their purchase through logic and reason. So the first thing you got to do is emotionally hook the customer, essentially. And the better way to do that is not with a grey background, guy smiling. So if you're selling like apparel, get the person to smile. If the person looks miserable, they're not going to. Get the person to smile. Get a nice background that's similar to this, corresponds very well, blends in very well with the product. It makes the happy. Does that make sense? Someone's attention long enough so they read the copy, they understand what it is that you have to sell, the benefits, and the reason why they should respond now. Click on the call to action, and then your landing page does the rest. So the next one will be a real estate example. Yeah, in the real estate industry, so buying homes, selling homes, etc. Now, with quite a few clients, sell their homes, and I've worked with clients properties, renovating them and selling them for a profit. What I realized to work the best is not these images that look like a marketing promotions, but for example, if you are, because let me show you over here. Where is the client? Here we go. So for example, with this client, we're trying to get homeowners in Jacksonville to essentially, we're helping homeowners in Jacksonville to sell their homes. Now, this marketing promotion did well, but what I realized that was even more effective was what I did was I went on Google and I found an image of its target audience in Jacksonville. I used that image. That image outperformed this image. So this image that looks like, again, a marketing promotion, all I did was, this client over here, Lisa, she sent me images of homes that she sold for clients in Jacksonville. And I took that image, no Photoshop, no copy. An image like this, very similar to this, outperformed an image like this. for example. So what I'm trying to say is, when you're testing creatives or when you're creating your creatives, you've got to be able to test, because sometimes what you will stumble across is something that is quick, easy, simple, and easy for the customer to understand will work better than all of this, graphics design stuff. Does that make sense? Because what people want, especially when you do something legal, they want something that's real. Does that make sense? So that's why, and this is a golden nugget. If you're working with a client, or if you are the client yourself and you want or looking to buy and don't have any copy, no words, nothing like that, no graphics design, nothing at all, and I bet you that this this kind of image, these kind of images will outperform an image like this, and I mean 2 to 1. So give it a go. So this is a lot better. Remember what I was talking about before, that essentially people buy based on emotion but justify their purchase decision through logic and reason. So this is what I'm talking about in terms of emotionally hooking um, your customer, your potential customer. So here we can see that the perfect Lego-like gift for dog lovers. So boom. So if you are going to use copy, make it short, make it simple, and now from reading this, I know exactly what the person is trying to sell. So when I scroll down, the first thing I'm going to see is the pug. That's going to grab my. That I'm going to read the top part. The perfect Lego like gift for dog lovers. The Lego that matches with the pug. That's creative right there. We're almost finished. So this was a creative that I created for myself to sell fishing lures, and it did really well. The reason why it did really well was because of the offer. So sometimes if you have, and you can see that the image is black, and you can see that the image specifically focuses on the product, and the product is this banshee buzzing toad for people who are fishermen and are interested in catching more bass. So that's what this does for them, and my target customer is going to understand that straight. Makes sense. So what made this work really well was the offer. Free Banshee Buzzing Toad. Whenever you get the opportunity, use the word free. And that's why I wanted to illustrate these two examples. Because this, I'm selling a free Banshee Buzzing Toad, and this, they're selling a free dog bed. To go with, if you've heard of BarkBox, they essentially do a monthly subscription to dog owners that sells treats and stuff like that. So when you buy a bark box, you also get a free dog bed. Does that make sense? So that's why I put these two there. The effectiveness of using the word free to grab someone's attention and get them to click on the ad. I bought one myself. They've got like a Black Friday 50-60% off, whatever. And this is the kind of creatives that you want. Real life people who are using your product. So even if, for example, you're selling apparel, give your product to your mom, your dad. But that ad will outperform any professionally model done ad, because what people want is authenticity. So what you can see here, to get the person you're getting the creative to smile. Smiling is very effective, especially if you're selling apparel. Get them to smile, use their iPhone, and people can see the product. And if they want more information, they can click on the ad, go to your website, images, etc. Does that make sense? Because the purpose of an ad is to grab someone's attention, create enough interest, curiosity. So with an ad, you can essentially do something like this. Couples who Udi together stay together. For example, you can add a bit of humor. Does that make sense? Fantastic. I'm not going to go through this one, but last final hit. If well, is user generated content. So these three 9-figure brands use user generated. If you go to the Facebook ad library, you search for these three brands, you'll notice a lot of their content, like for example here, a lot of their ads is user generated content. So they get the product, they send it to the customer uses it, and then they create a video and they send the video to the client. So if you got like skincare, any skincare related product, what I would suggest before you spend a single penny on ads, get your product and get your product helps remove blackheads. Find someone who has blackheads, get that person to use your product in exchange to document their journey. This is day one, I've got blackheads, blah blah blah, and then this is day 7. My skin is a lot more smoother, my skin is glowing, blah blah blah, and then 30 days later the blackheads is all gone. That, as a creative, especially a video creator, will work a lot better than your generic, you speaking over the product, essentially, because it's a psychological principle. People are more likely to listen to a customer or somebody who has used your product than you yourself, because it's in your favor to talk good about your product. But if somebody else talks good about your product, that is a lot more effective. So yeah, if you want to learn more about psychological triggers, because they're very important in advertising, there's many books out there. For example, Influence by Robert Cialdini or something like that. And if you are a dropshipping business, what I would suggest you do is go to this website, Viral Ecom Vids. So if you're struggling to get video creatives that work, go to these guys. I've got a discount code down below, and use the discount code, and they will create you a copy that will help you sell your product. Does that make sense? And these are the different Facebook ad examples, and you get the opportunity to see all the different clients that they have worked with. I believe they've been in business for like, I don't know, 5-10 years. They've made over 30 million in sales, and what makes this service different is the people that run this business are people who are actual drop shippers that have made millions, and I mean 10 million plus in sales, drop shipping their own product. So it's not like you're buying it from a random person, you're buying it from people who are actually doing drop shipping, making money from drop shipping, and therefore they are the best people to create attention grabbing, to click, to buy, to purchase your product. So definitely, of course, it's going to require an investment, but in business, you either pay with time or you pay with money. And the beautiful thing about money, you can always make more money. However, you can never make more time. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.